Greetings and welcome to a quick tutorial on using Visual Studio Code to go ahead and write code on a remote computer. In this case, we'll be using a Raspberry Pi and just kind of getting you set up, but eventually you might be able to use this to remote on and connect to a www folder and update a web page or something. So, of course, first Google Visual Studio Code, click on the link, you're going to download it, and then run through the process of this. You can fast forward through this piece, click what you need. This will make sure that you have path in shell, so go ahead and click next, install. And most of this should be straightforward, so again, fast forward as needed for this piece, but just in case, you can follow along with this. It'll go through, finish installing. Now this is all better than trying to connect to the Raspberry Pi with this and trying to use something like Nano to create a Python file. Right, so we're gonna end up using Visual Studio Code to go ahead and do this. So it should be firing up now, and I think it there it goes on the wrong screen. So here we go. We have Visual Studio Code. The first thing that we are going to, we'll close that. So again, we're going to go ahead and Control-Shift-X to this plugin extension. Again, you just go over here to extensions, and we're looking for remote SSH, and right here if you need to type in SSH to narrow down even more. But again, it's by Microsoft, so let's go ahead and install that. And then now we're getting closer where we can actually go ahead and we have Explorer open eventually. We'll be able to use that as well to actually get to those files and whatnot as we're going. Alright, so you have it all installed. You've installed the remote SSH. So here's what you need to do. Again, so this is, say you just started up, you have nothing going. Over on the left, there's a remote Explorer. This will give you access to everything, so click the plus. And then again, you can see kind of the prompt up here to help you with it, but it's SSH, the name of the user, and most likely in the case of, like I'm doing a Raspberry Pi, this is a local IP address. And that'll give us the command to go ahead and connect, so who the user is, got that period. Or if you happen to have a web address, but again, for our purposes, that's that. And then just go ahead and save it to your user, so only your user can get to it. And then now that we are connected, all right, we can actually go ahead and then open up a config to it. And it's going to ask for your password. It might ask you, so again, pay attention to as you're going through this, it might ask you if it's Linux. So again, it's just going to keep popping out. It's kind of weird that it's in this search plot, but again, it's going to ask you at first when you create the SSH, the plus, it's going to want you to have that SSH space, username at, and then wherever the server is. And again, it might ask if it's, this is going to ask you where you want to save the credentials more or less. And then it may ask you if it's Linux, and you can see we're here. But once I'm connected to here, if I need to ever look at command prompt, which makes this really nice for looking around. So, and I actually kind of already have some files in here. So I have a ls, you gotta know some Linux commands, but here's my home folder, cd into, let's do documents, because I put a folder in there, right? So now you can see the documents, ls, and you can see I have a test Python. Now, how do we go ahead and connect and kind of get to all of that? Well, we're going to go ahead and actually connect to a folder and work on that. So open folder, that is by default your home. But again, if you want to do web, it might be var, www, html, or whatever, or If you want to have access to everything, just var ww wherever it might be. But again, I go to the lowest level so that you can always navigate through the rest of it, as we'll see in like. So I'm going to click OK. Opens up a new system for us. It's still kind of connecting because it wants my password. So again, keep watching up here because it can be prompting you to do something. You're waiting for it to do. But you can see, here we go, because this is all of my admin things. So if I go to documents, there's my test Pi, right? And if so you can build a whole entire system. If this was your www, there'd probably still be a bunch of other stuff there in your HTML file. If you need to add another file, right, and then let's do test2.py. I'm using Pi for a reason. One, I can run on here, I don't have HTML, or do I have the server hooked up? So Pi, and then I can just go ahead and print hello world, and Control S to save it, or file save. Now that's there, we can close it to go to the welcome. If we want to run it, as I mentioned, go back to the terminal, and we're in this, so I go cd into my doc file. I just hit tab it, doc tab. It lets you do all the stuff that Linux and everything does. Enter, and then I can just go ahead and Python 3 test2.py. And it froze for a second. There we go. And then hello world, right? So now I can go in there with Nano like I showed you before. But this has it all right here, right? So this is really useful if you're building a whole little project. You can connect, see a whole entire thing, and then have access to all of the features that Visual Studio gets, the color coordination and everything like that, IntelliSense. So again, you can install this and then connect to your device. You can connect to different devices as long as you go through the steps of install Remote SSH. You can access it from Remote Explorer. Here you'll add the connection. When you add the connection, it's going to kind of walk you through it, but you run in the command that would normally connect to it. Sugar shell, SSH, space, whatever your username is, at whatever the IP address is, and then you'll just kind of follow this through. Just make sure to keep checking up here because it might prompt you for something. It took me a while when I first set this up to be like, oh, I need to click on Linux. And I think it remembered that because it didn't prompt me the second time when I was trying it out. And then once you get into here, you can go ahead and then connect to different folders, different pieces as you're going through this, right? So I can have admin. I already have a connection to documents that I had created before. So you can kind of connect to these different things. And now I just have access to my documents folder. I can pay attention. It's asking probably for my password again. And that makes it easy. If you just do the one, so this one is documents, but I typed the password wrong. I'll just close that anyway. And that's how it works, right? So you can see what you can do, how you have access to it, and how to get through it. Hopefully that was helpful. I'll have some more things on actually getting stuff set up and whatnot, because you could actually install LAMP through this command prompt, and then once you have it all set up in front of you, the IP address, and you can just go straight to your Raspberry Pi without ever having to touch your Raspberry Pi, because most of us should know that they are really, really slow when you're trying to actually get on them. But they're pretty good when you're just doing these connections like this. So that's all I have today. Have a good one. Bye.